This chapter from Mind How You Go is called And Are You Ready to Make That Change? Clasp your hands together with interlocked fingers. Do you have left over right thumbs or right over left? Whichever it is, now unclasp your hands and reclasp them the other way. Notice what you feel, what that makes you feel, and where you feel that particular feeling. Plus, how do you describe that feeling? Responses tend to go from nothing to horrible, with a midpoint somewhere around the range from different to weird. How we measure up to the unfamiliar is something I like to invite everyone I work with to explore. The thing is, how we describe it through representation gives quite a clue as to the way we confront sensations and feelings that are different. For us to accept change, we have to be comfortable with the embodied feelings. If we want to step out of one behavior or way of thinking into another, then we have to totally embrace change for that step to be effective. Leaving a comfort zone is one of the hardest things for us to do, even if that comfort zone is populated by a behavior we want to stop. It's in the very nature of what comfort is for us. Comfort is familiar, warm, reassuring, a now moment of pleasure. There's a certainty to it that all is well, even though intellectually we know that may not necessarily be the case. Noticing what we are telling ourselves. In order to be comfortable with change, then we need to begin to look at how that impacts upon us in terms of embodiment. And this is where the clasped fingers play their part. For the lady whose answer to what it felt like in clasped fingers was horrible, I took her on an exploration of what her language was, and wasn't, doing for her. So if that's horrible, I said, then how would you describe cutting one of those fingers with a knife? She smiled and realized what she was doing here. I went on. Horrible is quite a powerful word, like hate. Look at the way children use hate, especially towards a parent or a loved one. If they really did hate them, then they'd find it hard to express themselves because their inappropriate usage of the word has devalued the real meaning of it. The other thing for the lady who used horrible is that by associating anything different or unfamiliar with such a word, for her, internally, there is an undoubted link between change and horrible. She was, for sure, comfortable with the notion and process of no change. And so if she can be guided to recognize a variety of softer ways to describe the unfamiliar, then she can enter a state of readiness to understand what change can feel like. For most of us, through becoming familiar with something new or different, we eventually place it into a new comfort zone. It becomes habitual. The other thing is, the more we embrace change, the more we develop a curiosity for it as well. And curiosity has a tendency also to replace anxiety. So there's a frame of mind, a mindset, around the whole area of change that's bound up with noticing what our bodies are telling us and processing what we notice in the most useful way for us to take forward into the rest of our lives. Spatial significance in embodied feelings. If we move on from the clasped fingers, Once we are comfortable with the unfamiliar, it's really useful to start to notice the power of spatial location in terms of our own conscious-unconscious dialogue. One of the most curious notions geographically is that of the person standing at the South Pole, who is told to go north. It doesn't matter which way he steps, because every step will take him north. Now, the parallel I want to bring in here is that whatever changes anyone wants to make in their lives, then this too will involve moving away from where they are now. The thing is, we also have an embodied spatial sense of time, where the future and the past may be in front and behind us, or off to the sides at some particular angle. This means that in terms of change and moving on, then we will ideally orient ourselves towards the future. However, if we see ourselves at the South Pole, then there is something else we need to bring into play so that we know that when we take that step to go north, we are actually oriented towards where we perceive our future is. The power of geography. When I'm talking with clients about their making changes, unburdening themselves, or leaving certain things behind, then there is an enhanced effect upon the work we are doing when I also make changes in their geographical location in the room. Ideally, I would have a room containing a number of chairs, and when they come in, I'd invite them to take a moment to allow your body to consider where now might be the right place for you to sit in order for you to feel comfortable right now. This can be as revealing as the clasped fingers. Plus, it calls upon them to search for their embodied feelings of comfort in a distracted current state. At some stage in our session, I will get them to walk around the room and stop at some representative point where they'd know and feel comfortable with all the changes they want to make. Their body would give them the sign through a feeling, maybe a sense of stickiness in the feet, maybe an inner word, maybe a flashed vision that this was the right place. It may be that there is the need to do this several times, meaning that each place needs to be marked, and then they would need to make a final choice between those marked places. Everyone's perceptions are different, and they intuitively know which is the right place. Once our bodies know where our future comfort zone is, then the journey of change comes into view in a multidimensional way, and with a clearer understanding of what things we need to take on that journey and what we need to leave behind. And we will explore elsewhere just how we might arrive at best judging what those things can be. Conclusion. The journey from now to me can be as short as the time it takes to unclasp and then reclasp your fingers, or step towards north from the South Pole. It's all a matter of becoming comfortable with the unfamiliar, and first recognizing the unfamiliar from the horrible. We are what we think and say to ourselves, and therein ourselves lies all the seeds for our change.